Okay guys, today is the 15th, it's the next day, and this is what these things look like today, but they are still, because my office is still kind of chilly because of the changing weather, they're a little too bendy to take out for the moment. So we're going to switch gears, and I'm going to be working on kind of two at one time kind of situation. So I'm going to do this turtle and these four molds and maybe the witch's hat. I'm not sure about it yet, and that's okay. What I've done so far is I just kind of cut a rough outline on this. Basically this is for fingernails. I just kind of did a rough outline, and I'm going to, at least as far as the head goes, and I'm going to insert that on a translucent, very thin layer of translucent either teal or aqua resin, and stick this down inside my turtle. And then these are going to be black resin today. So we're going to see how that goes, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of resin, and then I will be back with you in just a moment. Okay, so I'm only going to do about 100 mLs. This is my favorite cup because it's got the easy to read numbers. And I'm going in with my J. Diction epoxy resin today. It's 1:1. It's supposed to be bubble free. I've only used it a couple times, so we're going to do 50 of part A and 50 of part B. And it's been sitting beside my heater vent, so it should be somewhat bubble free. Alright, let's see if I got enough in there. Hold it up to the light. Yep, awesome. 50 ml so far. Grab a couple wipes, because I will probably need those. Alright, so that's part B. And we do have our part A this time. And we are going to fill that the rest of the way to the 100 ml mark. And again, I'm using the J. Diction, and I haven't used a whole lot of this, but it is supposed to have, I'm trying to find the working time on here, so bear with me. And it does not actually say. Okay. But anyway, I digress. So, move this around a little bit down here on the bottom. Alright, so give me just a moment. We'll get this mixed up, and I'll find the colors that I want to use for our turtle. So like I said, I'm just going to put a thin layer here in the center for right now, and I will be back in just a moment. Okay, so we got our timer started. I'm going to have to splice this with the last video. But I set my timer for 3 minutes because there's not a whole lot of resin like I would normally use in this cup. So we'll set that over there. And again, I'm going to use just a little bit with a little bit of transparent, what is it, the pigments or the dye or whatever you want to call it. And I might fill it about halfway, but I don't want it to go up into the legs at this point because I'm going to use a darker color for the base of my turtle. The reason for that is one, I've never done it before, and two, I think it would be interesting to see what effects I can get with that. So We will worry about that in just a second. I'll pour some of this into a different cup. That way I can mix it up with the colors and find out what we can do with this. Like I said, I'm interested to find out how that little nail stencil is going to show, or what effects we're going to have once the resin cures and we get everything put together. I might put like some sand in the little flippers, do some wet resin for the flippers. That's something we can do, and kind of do like a beachy kind of theme. I'm not real sure just yet, so we'll see. Alright, I got about 50 seconds left to stir. And make sure this is all mixed together. Always wipe off your sticks or your stirring utensils to make sure you get any of the unmixed resin back into the rest of it so you can stir it in as well. About 25 to go. And I know there's a few bubbles in here, but I can spray that with a little bit of alcohol or torch the top of it. You know, there's multiple ways to get rid of those little micro bubbles in there. Alright, so we got about 10 seconds, so I'm going to shut that off. And get a mixing cup here. I'm not using mica powder this time because that's not what I'm interested in. Just want a soft, might be able to put a little bit more of that in here in a minute. Okay, set that over there. Let me think. What color do we want? Color pour, maybe a little too green. Oh, there's a pretty blue. Now that's opaque. We don't want that. Most of these are opaques. Okay, so that's not going to work. Go to the next one. Over here. These I got from Timo, I believe. That's plain blue. This is supposed to be a turquoisey. Don't want a whole lot of color. That might be a little too dark. That's just green, bright green. Tiger's eyes, no. Sapphire. Yeah, we'll go with the turquoisey. I'll just add just a little bit at a time by dropping some of the pigment onto, you can see it's a pigment ink. Maybe. Try to get it here. So it's a turquoise resin pigment ink. It is by Craft Smart. Again, I think I ordered these off of Temu. It could have been off Amazon, but I don't think it was. Alright. So put a little bit. Yeah, we'll need just a little more than that. Oops. Okay. We'll try one drop. That's probably more than enough. Wipe that off on our baby wipe. Get a different stick because we don't want to contaminate what we have left over in the other cup. Now that is a pigmented ink, so it is not, yeah, that's going to be a little too dark. Okay, no problem. We just add a little more clear, and if what we don't use, I can put in something else. I do have another turtle over here that I could use and do something similar with it that I'm doing with this one. So Alright, that is somewhat close to what I was looking for. So, we just want a little bit down in the center here. Got something in there. Just enough to hold the film in there, and a little extra. So there's plenty of resin right there. Alright, so I know it's kind of a rectangular shape. Actually, you know what? We'll get our scissors real quick and trim this up just a little bit. We don't need all of these corners. And I'll keep all these little extra bits. Probably to, you know, cut them up and put into another piece down the road. Ooh, I might have cut that a little too small. Oh well. I am not perfect at this, and my coordination's not the best, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm going to color most of this in a darker resin anyway, once it's all said and done. I don't want that. I want a little skewer here. Alright, so I want that up a little bit further. And we'll push that down into our turtle. Now there are going to be some air pockets. That is a given, considering this is like a plastic. You know, it is plastic, but we can work around those bubbles. So just kind of press it down the best you can. And try to squeeze out as many of those air pockets as you can, even if that means some of it comes up into the other sections, because that's perfectly fine. So we just want to let that set until it's cured fully before adding anything else as far as in the body. All right. Put that back on there. Set that to the side. Do a little bit of white sand in what's left over here. Just got this from the Dollar Tree. Now we'll mix 1 little spoon of white and a spoon and a quarter. And we will add a little bit of a two-tone, which is also something I think I mixed it together myself, but it may have came from the Dollar Tree as well, already done. And I want the sand fairly thick so that the resin does not slide out of the feet too quickly, or very easily for that matter. And since it's a turquoise color, it'll blend in, and we're going to have too much of this too, so I'll need to find another mold to use. Okay, so yeah, we're going to go ahead with the two-tone, I think. Another couple big spoons, because you don't want it thin. I want it like a paste kind of consistency. And I only want enough to stay right here in these little flippers or feet. That might be enough. I'm going to add a little more. If it's too much, you can always add a little more clear resin to it. Alright, there's that. And I'm going to have to, okay, it's still nice and room temperature, so that's okay. And I think I may actually have another piece that I can use some of the sand on if it's too much. So I will get that put together real quick, because it's one that started a while back and I've never had a chance to finish it. And it's this piece here, so we'll put sand on the outside rim of that. And I have plenty of resin to use on that. So, alright, we're going to add a little bit here. I want just enough, because we want to actually be able to cover the flippers with some more resin when the time comes. So when we go to fill in the rest of the body, we want to be able to fill in the tops of his feet. It may actually still slide a little bit. Oh well. We'll fix it later, maybe, if needed. Now, this is actually one of the first official beachy themed pieces that I've attempted. Probably ever. That's not true. I attempted a notebook and it did not turn out very well. For some reason my resin didn't cure up very well and it was very flimsy. Maybe this was a couple years ago. So this is the first time I've tried it since then. Okay, it looks like it might stay. Oops. Like I said, I just want enough to cover his fins, flippers, feet, whatever, and still be able to get some resin in there on them when the time comes to finish this piece. Hopefully this evening. So, alright, so that's all we're going to do with that piece. So we're going to set him over there, and we're going to use the rest of the sand on the edges of this cute little tray. Let me get a piece of tape and clean this out. It's been sitting for a little while, so it's got a little bit of fluff in there. Okay. So I'm not too worried if this goes over into the tray itself. That doesn't bother me. Like I said, it's supposed to be more of a beach theme, so I am okay with that. Just want to put this. I've already got seashells in here. I've got some blue around the outside rim. So all we got to do is, and if there's not enough sand, we can leave it as part of the beach, and it'll be just fine. Just kind of dab that down in there. And it doesn't have to be super thick, obviously, because it's not a very thick tray. But I would like it to kind of have, I may go ahead and use the rest of this. That little shell has to be filled because it's got a huge air pocket right there. Alright, so we're going to use the rest of this, and I'll probably mix up a little bit more sandy kind of resin, just because I've got this big beachy looking section here. Okay, so wipe off, and we'll do a little stir, make sure everything's together. Do a little wipe off, add some more resin. Set that back over there. Alright. And we're going to add some more sand. Make it nice and thick, because that actually looks like it's a little too thin. Because my resin is separating out of my sand. Need a couple more spoons. And then we'll figure out what to do with the rest of that 65 or so milliliters of resin. And it should be okay sitting there because there's not a whole lot. I hope you guys can see how thick I've made this. And you want to make sure when you have it really thick like this that you make sure everything is covered. Otherwise it may not cure appropriately. So it may be brittle, it just may not come out right. Kind of like this did. It's, if you can see that, it's got a lot of, it's liquefied right in that section, and it's starting to spread up the side, and that's not what I really wanted for that. So before we go any further, we'll try and push some of this back just a little bit. Alright. Well, that's a lot better, at least for the moment. That's more of a beachy feel to it. I like that. So we're not going to worry about it being symmetrical because it's sand. You know, as the tide comes in, the sand kind of does its own thing. And maybe we'll have some more on this edge. But we got to make sure that it stays down low because, again, we have to put another layer of resin on top of this once this cures. I could do it now. Maybe we will. There's probably enough in there, but I don't want to risk that. So we'll probably just leave this to dry, at least to cure for a little while. Alright, we're just going to have a really big beach here. And we'll have some erosion from the waves maybe. This will be like a deeper section, a darker blue. Yeah, that would work. Alright, so we're done with the sand. Wipe off our stick. And put it aside for later. Put my spoon away. My sand get put away. Remember where I had it. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of prop that up just a little bit. That way it keeps everything toward this end. Now, we have our turtle, and bring him up close. And you can see it's got like little holographic hearts. My goal is to have that shine through when this piece is finished. So, we'll see what happens with that one. Okay, now, a couple extra wipes just in case we need them. Put those off to the side as well. So this one is, now these turtle molds are also from Julie from Pouring Your Heart Out. So Julie, if you see these, thanks again. I love your molds and I'm going to order again soon. This one has a very matte finish to it. So I think what I'm going to do is, whoops, a little sticky. Forgot to clean that off a little bit on the bottom. All right. Excuse me. I think I don't want, don't want it up that high. Okay. What I'm going to do is something very similar to this one, but I'm going to use a different type of foil or cellophane or whatever. However, I think we're just going to use clear for this part. And not, we'll just fill up the bottom part of the shell a little bit more. Okay. And that'll give this a chance to just make sure it stays cool enough to where it's not going to hurt anything. So, I am going to use let's see. What color do we want? Like I told my friend Tracy, if you can think it, you can put it in resin. So, this piece is quite thick. Don't know that I want to use that piece. Bear with me, everybody, just for another moment, please. I'm trying to figure out which kind of color I might want to use here. Alright, we're going to go with the big one, and we'll just cut it out. So, don't need a whole lot. So, kind of go from there. Again, I'm not very good at trying to figure this stuff out, and that's alright. You don't have to be an artist or a perfectionist to do this kind of stuff. Just kind of wing it, like I do, I guess. Alright, let's curl around these outer edges just a smidge, make them look a little more rounded. Okay. And yeah, we'll make it work. Alright, so we need a little bit of resin up in the head like the last one. I'm going to use my stick and kind of drizzle resin in here. Don't want to put a whole lot because I know it's going to go back down inside my turtle body, and I don't want to put that up in the flippers. If I could find them, I have some seashells I think I would like to use for the flippers, or like a stone of some kind. Okay, good. We're going to have to trim that up a little bit right here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I had resin on it, so we don't want to mess with that. Ouch. Okay, let's move plastic out of the way. Probably should have used a thinner cellophane for that. Oh well. Push it down in there. And just come up the side. Careful not to cut my mold because I'd be really upset about that. Clean the resin off my scissors. So the last thing we need is for those to get sticky. Okay, set that aside for a minute. And try and push that down in there as best as possible. And of course it's going to go up in the feet some. but we'll work with that. It'll be all right. Now what I'm hoping this is going to do, shoot. Okay, I have to trim some more of that. I know my video's getting long, guys. I apologize. So just kind of trim that. And we will eventually get it. Alright. So, oops, stuck my finger down the resin. Not what I wanted to do. Oh well. Alright. Get that down inside of the head. And hopefully that'll stay down in there. Now, I'm not too worried about it popping up too much. And the reason is, one, it's going to be covered with more resin at some point. And two, you can always sand it down and go from there. It looks like it might be okay. Now, way back in here is a little tail. So we're going to get a little squishy. See if we can get some of that resin down in the tail without any air bubbles. Because you can't have a turtle without his tail. Alright, so there's that. Now, we still have a little bit of resin left. So, I am going to use it in this little witch's hat. Just because. Just because. Now, that being said, what I'm going to do, because this is probably going to be too much for it as well, and that's okay. I'm going to add glitter. And I think a mixture of a fine neon color and a black holographic would be perfect. So, okay, that one's already open. Go ahead and add the black. Hold it over the garbage can so you don't get it everywhere. Glitter's not your friend. Personal opinion. For those who care. And some some neon green. Oh, that's going to be pretty. That is going to be outstanding. So, no mica powder, no pigments, just black and green glitter. So in the event that is too much, I also have the skull, just in case. So we are going to move these over here. I always find myself trying hard to not breathe too heavy because it's kind of like bow shooting archery. If you breathe too hard, you kind of miss your shot. If you hold your breath, it's a little easier maybe. I don't know. Alright, obviously that is definitely going to be too much. So I'll set that over here. And it looks like I'm going to need kind of lift up this edge just a bit. Because it's a little unlevel. Okay, now I can add a little bit more. Now that I'm sitting down, I can see eye level on here. So we'll take the stick and we'll just kind of drizzle a little bit here and there. And try not to overfill. Okay, so we need to let that down just a hair. Alright. Now for our skull, what I want to do is kind of take my stick. I know I'm in your way, guys, I'm sorry. And drizzle between the teeth. Just kind of let it work its way down in between all the little nooks and crannies. I'm going to make a heck of a mess. Alright, now that we got that between the teeth, we can go in with that. And now I know why Julie pours with her right hand all the time. She's right hand dominant, and it makes it a little easier, especially if the camera's on the left hand side. Alright, so we are going to use as much of the rest of this as we can to fill in this little skull. And I still got a tiny little bit in here. So I take the end of my toothpick and direct it in around a little key thingy. Little nib, little block, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so, and I overfilled the witch's hat just a bit. So I need to slide that down. Alright, so we'll take a piece of paper towel. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that and waste my resin. You will scrape off the stick and kind of go in and take some of the resin out of it with the stick. Scuff it off the edges. And if it's still too much, I can still go in when it's all said and done and use a pair of nippers or scissors or break the pieces off, you know, whatever it takes. Let me double check that. Alright, I need to go up back on that side a little bit more. Maybe. Okay, do a little bit of a cleanup. Alright, so that's all I'm going to do with the witch's hat for now. It's the first time I've ever used it. We're just going to let it be. Alright, so still have some of this left. Hopefully. Move the turtle over a little bit. Oh, that's not going anywhere. Okay. That's alright. So I know my hands are in the way on this. So bear with me a little bit, guys. I'm so sorry. So we're just going to add glitter to these earring molds. No, the resin, not the glitter. Good grief. Okay. Again, guys, if you haven't subscribed or liked my videos, please do so. I'm hoping to make this a substantial assistance to our income at some point. So just knowing that I have a small following really makes a difference. It helps my husband, it helps me, so. And it goes back into my apiary business. If, you know, I have any supporters outside of the YouTube venues and things. And I would love if anyone has suggestions on equipment or other types of resin that you've tried and you have ideas or, opinions on that kind of stuff, feel free to share it in the comments below. I'll be happy to listen. And I will do my best to read and comment back to the best of my abilities. It may take me a little while, but I will get there, I promise. Alright, so there's that. And, okay, we can put a little bit more nosy rings. Not quite domed over. The witch's hat might get to take a little more too, which would be amazing. Okay. I know I took some out, but I've repositioned it, so. Alright. We'll give it a go and find out. And that's probably all I'm going to add to that. So this is all we have left. So I can scuff that off in the trash can, much as I hate to, but it's already getting kind of sticky and thick. So sometimes just, it's really no choice. Because you don't have enough, or you don't have another piece to put the stuff in, and it just becomes a big mess. Alright, that's taken care of. Alright guys, that's all I have for you for now. I am hoping to be able to take out the coasters by this evening. Hopefully they'll have hardened up enough. Eventually I would like to get one of the mats that I can lay those pieces on. One of the warming mats. So we'll see what happens in the future. Okay? This is Christina from Phase Fun Creations, signing off for now. And we'll see you next time. Bye everybody.